Morning, and thank you for joining us on another episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I am your host, Sharifa Hardy, and I have an even more amazing show for you today than I regularly do. And I know that because this is a show like I've never done before, where 3 of the 5 guests are returning guests. We had so much fun the last time that we said, you know what? Let's do it again. So I want you to do what I always ask you to do, and that's to go ahead and share this show, because friends don't let friends miss out on the Round Table Talk Show. I am going to introduce you to our first guest. He's someone I know you want to speak to, Mr. Christian Brim. He's a business consultant, and he's out there to help you if you're in business. Good morning, Christian. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifa. How are you?
I am excellent. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You look very excited this morning.
Well, you mentioned in the pre-show the dogs being a distraction. I actually brought my dog to work today and left him in the hallway, so I hope he doesn't start pawing at the door.
And else he doesn't do anything else while you're, taping the show. You come out and everything is everywhere.
No, he'll just want to be in here with me.
Oh, that is so sweet. I love that. Tell us about your business, Christian. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Sure. We help small business owners manage their taxes by having better planning. We work with small businesses all over the country. We've been doing this over 20 years. And the niche is those people that feel like they need to be more proactive about their taxes as opposed to just receiving a bill at the end of the year and figuring out how to pay for it.
So they can come to you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the reason why I reached out to you and wanted to be on this show is my passion is helping small business owners. I grew up in a family business, been an entrepreneur most of my adult life, and regularly interact with business owners. So they're my passion, helping them. So my expertise is finance and accounting, but I got a lot of experience just being a business owner and all of the things that go along with that.
We're definitely going to need your voice in the conversation today. I want to go ahead and introduce my next guest, Susan Briggs, who is a certified professional animal care operator. Good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm awesome. Thank you.
I guess dogs are the theme of the day. I don't know how this worked itself into the conversation, but I see your shirt. You're an animal care operator. Tell us about yourself, Susan, and what you do.
Well, like Christian, I have a passion for small business owners as well. And our business is a niche, the Dog Gurus, helping pet business owners that own doggy daycares, pet lodging facilities, dog trainers, pet sitting, dog walking, grooming. So we're in the pet care service industry. So combining my love of pets with my love of helping small businesses, we provide coaching and consulting services as well as staff training, because the care and safety of your pet really depends on how well the staff that are caring for them have been trained to do that. So we have focus on teaching canine body language and just staff training and helping the businesses. So we've been really busy right now with COVID, helping our businesses survive this big change.
Do you work with service animals?
No, mostly dogs and cats. So yeah, and I know my dog well enough that he's not in the room because he would have been a distraction. So.
Oh, I see Arden. I'll come back to her. No, but I mean like the pets as service animals, because that's one of the things that I've seen an increase of. All of a sudden, it's like more and more people.
Yeah.
I need my pet. I need my service animal, whether it's something, dealing with anxiety, traveling, whatever it is. So that's why I was curious.
Yeah, some of our members do that, but I don't have any direct experience with service animals, but I do know that dogs and pets are very healing, and so I know they definitely provide a lot of support and care to families and individuals alike.
You'll get used to me, Susan. That's why I had to start early, because I asked a whole bunch of nosy questions to see what's going on in your life.
That's right. Oh, that's all right.
So we're going to move over to Arden. Since Arden's cat is taking this show, I want to introduce my next guest, wonderful, wonderful woman who has been here before, Arden McLaughlin of Definita, P-R-A-D, Definita. I mess up everything. I love
Okay,
their
girl,
cat.
That's Bruce. He's my service animal.
Every time we do a show, you have a pet, like a different pet.
Well, Bruce and Clyde are mine. Remember last time I was at my mom's house? I was not at my house the last time. So Rudolph was there the last time, the Irish setter. I also have Bruce and Clyde. I found them both at a barn. So.
Okay, so this is why I invited Arden back, because Arden can just take the entire show. The last time we did a show, I launched my first radio show in 2009, and I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, celebrities, business owners. I have never called anyone crazy live on the air. Thank you, Arden. This woman is crazy. Like,
And the good thing is I'm a publicist. So I love teaching other people how to find their voice. So Definita is about defining yourself in a cluttered marketplace. So I started my own business because I really felt like I kept getting squashed, that who I was wasn't enough, or it was too much. And I was like, you know what? There are a million people out there who feel that way too, and their stories need to be told. And all of us like really love a great story, and then we want the story to relate to an amazing business. And so I created it. And then I just think it's funny that I'm a crazy cat lady, because people are like, oh, you're such a dog person. I'm like, I'm an all animal person. So yeah, I came back just because I like to have fun. I'm sent some clients here, but I just love having like the ability to talk to new people. And I am a little crazy. That's okay. Unique.
Gotta be a little crazy.
Everything is so heavy right now, guys.
That's right.
I keep telling people, they're like, it's so heavy. I'm like, are you new? It has been heavy all the time. Y'all just been seeing it for the first time. It's heavy. We gotta like figure out our lane, figure out what we can do to be a part of it, and move on. Like bring light.
That is Arden. I want to introduce my next guest, Helena Wise, who you have seen before as well on a couple of my shows. Helena is amazing, but one of the things that Helena does is she is a holistic nutritionist. Good morning, Helena. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
It's great to have you back. I love the painting in the background, the portrait.
Oh, thank you. An artist friend of ours painted that. Yeah, he's a Baltimore artist and used to be a professor at one of the universities there.
I love it. It just looks so tranquil. But I digress, and I think I'm gonna do that, get distracted a lot today. Tell us about yourself, Helena, and what you do.
Well, I'm an herbalist and a holistic nutritional therapist. And I got my studies working with KP Kalsa, which I mentioned to Jay. He's one of the most renowned herbalists and holistic practitioner in the country. And he resides in Oregon, but I've been under his tutelage for 6 years and completed my degree with him. I'm a member of the National Association of Nutritional Professionals. I am a member of the Herbalists Without Borders, and a few others. So my whole thing, especially with the pandemic and people been under stress, is I've always believed that food is our medicine. Plants, foods, even we need these things to ward off stress. It's the basis of health, whether it's mental, physical, or whatever. What we eat, what we put in our bodies make a difference on who we are, how we act. So that's been my passion for quite a few years now. I believe in meditation and yoga and even with animals, you have to feed animals good nutritional food. now a lot of people are becoming aware of that. Like the cook, she has her own line now of dog foods made with nutritional things, vegetables, and that sort of thing.
Was that you? Is that Rachel Ray or is that
Rachel Ray? Exactly.
Okay.
I couldn't think of her name in a second, but Rachel Ray has her holistic line of animal products now. But that just goes to show we as people, animals on this planet, need nutrition, and we need it from plant-based foods. And I think we need to boost our agricultural, or bring back, should I say, more of our agricultural existence in this country and become more healthy, because even with the pandemic, if your immune system is on high and on point, you're not going to succumb to illnesses. It's all about the immune system is there to protect us. We have to feed it the right things, our bodies the right things to boost that immune system, to keep it, at a high level so that it can protect us, and unfortunately we consume so many fast foods and all the other negative things that causes so many problems. Even addictions are, people don't relate addictions to food, but it definitely is a big factor to me, my opinion, in with food. Alcohol and things like that, it's all derived from sugars. So sugars create a toxic environment in the body. It affects who we are. It gives us these cravings. So this, you don't think of alcohol as sugar, but it really is. Refined carbs, sugar. So it's not just the sugar that white granular sugar that we put in drinks, but sugar is a big part of that. So what I do is teach people what to eat, how to eat, and along with, of course, exercise and meditation and things like that, to build their immune system up, to stay healthy, to live longer, and teach that to, teach them so they can teach their children, and so on and so on. So
No, I love it. I think that's wonderful. What you do is wonderful. That's why I've enjoyed sitting down, talking with you, having these discussions. We've learned so much. We've taken notes. We've learned about your products. We've learned about the different things that we can do. I know more people have been focused on meditation, on their health, on their immune system during this global pandemic, probably than ever before, because
Yes.
we want to live long lives. And we also know that COVID-19 affects more people who have some kind of underlying issue already. So we definitely have to keep all those things in mind. But here is where this show is about to take a turn. This show is just it was going one way and it's about to go another way. So I'm gonna tell y'all a story of what had happened, right? What had happened was I saw a post yesterday on Facebook, and it was in regards to disbanding the police. And I had already made a post yesterday on my Facebook about disbanding the police, because here in Long Beach, California, they keep putting out these posts encouraging the disbanding of the police. So I responded to the post, and then all of a sudden, you know how Facebook is. It's like everybody just started commenting and telling me, and like, Sharifa, you can't say that, and all this stuff. And we were going back and forth to finally, I said, you know what? This is not a discussion, right? I'm just telling you, my brother lives in Australia, and if they disband the police in Long Beach, I'm moving to Australia. So we have this
I'm with ya.
you Arden, we could go, because I'm not
We're
staying
going.
here without these police.
No.
I don't know if people know Long Beach, but it is one of the largest cities in Los Angeles County. It's huge. And I tell people, I know they're going to replace it with other things like social workers, but if something happens to me, I want a man with a gun to show up. Right? So I was having this whole conversation, and it was on Jay Shifman's post, and I didn't realize Jay was on the show today. So when I saw him, like, it's Jay. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Sharifa. It's great to see you. It's funny that was, so my appearance today is timed well, not just for that. I mean, that was a happy accident, but, you were on my podcast, and I timed this so that your episode is dropping tomorrow. So I'm on here today, and all the people who follow me get to hear more from you, because we all come in this show and everyone hears about us, but we don't get to hear about Sharifa on this show. And that's what my podcast is. So people are going to learn a lot about you tomorrow.
They are, but I didn't even give you a proper introduction. You work
That's
with
okay.
people. I know, because we old friends, and I forget, like your resume. I got a lot
my
of
third
friends
time
like
on
that.
this show.
Yes, people should recognize you. We just gonna give you your own permanent seat now. Like that's Jay's sheet, but you work with people with addictions and mental health, and that's what your podcast is about as well.
That's right.
Choose your struggle.
Yep, the podcast is Choose Your Struggle. I am 10 years in recovery, and I talk to people both inside and outside the industry on issues of mental health and substance misuse. So you get to hear the real Sharifa tomorrow. And as you expertly said, the Sharifa who is on this show is the real Sharifa, because you keep it, as we say, 100. So anyone who loves Sharifa, as I'm sure everybody watching does, you got to check out the Choose Your Struggle. By the time our West Coast followers are up tomorrow, it'll be on all your platforms. Anywhere you get your podcast, search for Choose Your Struggle. Now subscribe and be the first ones to listen tomorrow when we learn about the real Sharifa.
You keep saying that, the real Sharifa. I was in a mood, and I always tell people that, like, I'm a moody person. I was having this discussion with my mother the other day. I'm like, I'm a moody person. And my mom's like, you think? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but what I say is going to be affected by the mood I'm in. And I was in a mood. I think I was, as the young people say, feeling myself during your interview, because I walked away from that interview like, I hope I didn't sound arrogant. Like, I hope I really didn't sound arrogant. But it was a particular question you asked about Shirley Chisholm that I answered. And after I was like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, not at all. So
I'm going to tell you.
So here's the thing, is that you and I talked for about an hour 15.
Yes.
And unfortunately, for the length of my podcast, I have to cut that down to 25, 30 minutes. And it's always so hard. But what I did with that answer, because that answer was great, is I took where you really got in your zone and you had some really amazing knowledge. I took out the part about Shirley herself, but I left in all the knowledge that you dropped, which is incredible. So what people are going to hear when they listen tomorrow is not as many direct answers, but multiple questions that are brought together. And we get to really hear from you a lot of your cool thoughts and your history.
You know what, Jay? You should see if Arden needs like somebody to assist, because you good at spin. Like you just spun that.
That's good.
No, because the question, what was the question about Shirley? You said that she had. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have the amazing line that you used on my podcast and you use here a lot, which is that when they denied you the seat at the table for or at city council, you took the round table, which is like a mic drop line, right? And that reminded me of Shirley Chisholm's, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. So I asked you about that, and you were like, look, it's not just Shirley. I am incredibly motivated by all these incredible, strong Black women. And you went on about all this incredible things you've done where people haven't given you an opportunity. And I was like, I can't cut this part out. I mean, this is amazing. So that definitely is in the podcast.
Well, no, but the specific answer I gave, that's why I said I kind of felt a little worried. And yes, we're going to get back to talking about all of y'all. That's why I said, Christian, Susan, I apologize in advance, because I already knew where this conversation was going to go. But it was specifically about, did I think about that, where they wouldn't give her a seat, so she brought a folding table. And I said, I don't think about it like that. I think about it like, this is my table. I made this table. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I can not have a seat at a table, because this is my table. And that's what I do in business. I always look for opportunities to create something that nobody else can take away from me, that nobody else can say, oh, Sharifa, you can't talk, you can't speak. And that's why I went from the Long Beach City Council to the Round Table, because I had to have a platform where I could have a voice. And I was going to say what I wanted to say the way I wanted to say it. But sometimes I have to be careful, because I have to remain humble and people understand my spirit. But that's how I feel. Like, I want mine, not because of race or whatever, but this is mine and something people can't take away from me. But Jay, the discussion on disbanding the police, you got to talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because I was about to ask your opinions of Phyllis Schlafly if we were going to really get into it. But
Art, because I saw your email, Art. That's what I was about to say. I saw your email when we were talking the other day, and you were talking about the things you were doing, and I was like, okay, I should have looked. I'm like, I got Art and Jay. I again, Christian, Susan, maybe Helena. I apologize.
Yeah.
Jay?
Well, so here's the thing about my post is that I think that, we get caught in the weeds with the name of what this movement is. And at the end of the day, people aren't saying get rid of it. They're saying disfund. And that's, I just checked. I wanted to make sure I wasn't speaking out of school. What is currently trending on Twitter is disfund, not disband. And while that may be said in some places, the national movement is disfund, not disband. Exactly. So what I posted, and this is my own personal experience, as I said, I'm 10 years in recovery from mostly a prescription pill addiction. And in the summer of 2009, I attempted to kill myself, and I overdosed in the process. And you would think that an ambulance would show up at my door or a social work, whatever the case is. What actually happened is I was let out of my house in handcuffs. I had my head bounced off the side of a cop car, and I was driven to the hospital handcuffed in the backseat of a cop car. And my point in this post was that man could no more save my life than teach me trigonometry. And he shouldn't have been put in that position in the first place. But unfortunately, that's the way this system is currently set up. And the reason is that I was still conscious. I was in the process of going, overdosing. And they, instead of sending an ambulance, they sent a cop car. And I've been on ride-along since then. I've been on about 5 now. And you would be surprised if you've never been on this experience, how often it is that an ambulance is called. In most cases, the cop is the one that's sent out there. Mm-hmm. And even if they have no ability, because they're not trained to do this, it's not their fault. They're not trained to save a life. They're trained to take a life or defend somebody. And I've been in cars with cops where we have driven people to mental institutions and lockdown units, and that person has no training to save that person in that situation. But our system is currently set up where they are the one that gets the call. That's what we need to change. Why is it that a cop was leading me out of my house that night in handcuffs? It should have been someone who could have saved me if I went into respiratory arrest while experiencing overdose.
Yes.
I definitely agree. I do want to go back to the terminology and the verbiage because I just Googled it again. There is defund and there is disband. And in Minneapolis in particular, that's the conversation, disband. The post that I saw with my 2 little eyes in Long Beach used the word disband. And so the New York Times reports this morning, what efforts to defund or disband police departments look like. The New York Times, I just think I just said that, but CNN, this city disbanded its police department 7 years ago. Here's what happened next. So it's a conversation that I've seen here, at least in Long Beach. But let's go on just in general, disband, defund. I'm sorry that happened to you, Jay. I'm really sorry that happened to you. And I believe that it shouldn't have happened to you, number one. And I do believe that we need to overhaul our police department, but to just, get rid of police altogether, I think that would be sheer lunacy.
Well,
I'll jump in here if you don't mind. Just I was, when this first happened, my question to my wife, I just looked at my wife and I said, why is race being interjected into this conversation? To me, the question should have been, why did someone die while in police custody? Period. Hard stop. It doesn't matter, what their ethnicity, their melatonin is, their heritage. Why is any citizen dying under police custody? I know from my perspective, I don't know enough about the police departments, how they work, what they have to encounter, what they do, what they don't do. But it seems to me that if you as a citizen are dying at the hands of law enforcement, that's a problem. I mean, it should be a extremely rare exception that does happen.
Well, I think it's just a disproportionate. Like if you look at stats, you look at there are more African American men in jails than any other race. There are more African American men and women that are unfortunately dying at the hands of police officers. And it's just I hate to say the word systematic, but it also is an area. So I kept asking the question when I saw this with the Minneapolis police. I was like, so people could sit around and record, but no one thought to like push this man off the other. Like that's where I just keep going. Are we so trained to fear the police that we can't look and go, I know you're an officer of the law, but right now you're killing someone. And I can record it, but I can't turn around and go, when I say get off of him, I'm pushing you off of him. So why are we trained to look at someone who is supposed to protect us and go, hold on, let me not get involved? I think that's my bigger question. And then
that's an excellent question.
That's a fair.
My other question was, why did it take this man killing it from a woman's perspective, this man killing another man when only a few weeks ago they walked into a woman's house who was an EMT who was sleeping and killed her based on nothing? And why did it take, and this is just me, why did it take a man dying for us to start to wake up to these things? Like, I'm just confused about where we are as a society that we can't go, your first shot, like shooting, whatever it is, but why did we look at him and go, record? Why did no one go,
There's fear. That's
yeah.
Can I interject?
Yes, please.
There's a big fear, especially in the Afro-American community, because this isn't anything new for us. This has been going on for decades. It's just that social media has put it in the forefront, and made it more visual for us to see. And really what happened to George Floyd is a modern day lynching, if you want to get down to it. So it was interesting. My husband found this information that recently in 2020, the federal government just outlawed lynching in 2020. Did anyone know that? I mean, I was appalled, like this just happened in February 2020, that it's against federal law to lynch someone. Wow, really? So, how long it's taken for them to do that. And this happened right before George Floyd, incident. So, for we to see someone get basically lynched, modern day lynched in front of our face, taking his last breath, asking for his mother, that has got to be the most heart wrenching. You have to be not even human for that not to affect you. So for me, I knew this day was coming. I'm not surprised. I knew the people had to stand up and make change as a whole, not just Blacks, but everyone. We're on this planet together, and we have to make sure that everyone is treated well and equally. And I know it didn't start out that way. We didn't come here, in the same, process, but this is 2020. Okay. We all work together. We live on this planet together. We breathe the same air. And if we're going to continue to progress in this world, in this country, then we've got to come together and make changes.
But I guess from my standpoint is why is, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that you've said, and maybe it is just my perspective, being white, is why is race the first thing that's interjected into it? And I understand that that's your experience. Then I understand why you would interject that in there and see that through that prism. But my question is more fundamental, because as a citizen, I should not fear my government. The government should fear me. I should not have to worry about if a cop pulls me over, that if I go into custody, I might not survive. That is a universal thing that all of us should should feel.
And that's what we're fighting for right now. You know, and that's where this is the process of the protests all over the world, is because that's not true for everyone. You know, and because it's not true for everyone, that's what we're fighting for. We want those civil liberties, and just like, you know, we pay the police. They're supposed to serve the people. Okay, like you're saying, that's basically what you're saying. We shouldn't fear them.
I think what I'm saying is that I share that fear, and it has nothing to do with my skin tone. It's I think that the police in general has too much power. They have too much.
I concur. I definitely concur with that.
But the
I would agree. I would agree with that, Christian. Definitely. But it still goes back to my original point, is that just because this aspect isn't working, let's figure out how to make it work. Even before all of this, even before all this happened, there was a movement to do specifically what Jay was talking about, to send other people like social workers or more EMTs out with the police officers or people who have more experience. But to me, to just, defund or disband the police, to me, that's the wild, wild west.
I have family members that are police officers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good police officers. Okay, all of them are not bad police officers. So the ones that I know personally, they wouldn't have treated Jay the way he said he was treated. So we can't group all of them 100% in the same basket. It's just unfortunate that there's some bad apples there.
I think that goes to that having accountability for individual actions and performance and behavior guidelines.
Exactly.
And I think that was obvious in the Minneapolis, that there were police officers there that were intimidated to take action or speak out.
Right.
There's no accountability. As Arden first referenced, the men that killed, and it was murder. It was straight up murder. Breonna Taylor in Louisville have not been fired. They're still getting paid.
Oh.
They're not in jail. There is no accountability. And the issue here, so something that Christian mentioned, is that we should all fear police officers. Here's the thing, man. The police officers aren't killing us, right? They are killing Black people 3 times more likely than they're going to kill one of us. That is a fact. That's not me or some liberal bleeding heart that came up with this. I'm reading this right here in the USA Today. Right next to it, I'm reading here in the Times, there is a 1-to-1 connection that every Southern police force, this was a study in the Times 3 years ago, can be traced back to slave catchers. Every single Southern police force has their roots in slave catchers. If you look at, and again, that's not me saying that, that is the Time magazine that is saying this. This is a long story.
Right.
So if you're looking at that and you're saying we can fix this, they've been trying to fix this since 2008 when the Great Recession hit.
We can fix this, Jay. We can fix this.
We can. We've been trying for 12 years.
Okay, but let me just say this, Jay. Let me just say this. Even in disbanding or defunding, that's a way for us to try to fix it. That's one way that we're saying this is a problem. We know it's a problem, so this is our fix. My whole thing is maybe that is not the only way to change this or to make a problem. Ever since all of this happened, I've spoken on 2 panels. All of a sudden, people were like, Sharifa, we want to talk to you. We want to have these conversations. And so I've been doing a lot more talking. I have more people watch the movie 13 than I think, and it's been out, I think, 6 years. And so now I'm like, if you don't understand what's going on, watch 13, watch 13, watch 13. And if anybody on the panel, if you haven't seen 13, watch 13. But it brings the slavery, the issues that we're dealing with today all the way up from slavery. But the thing is, I feel like we don't just need to focus on that on that specific area. The whole thing, everything in America is built with systematic racism. So we can't just say, okay, shut this down, shut that down. You have to be able to change it from within. And that's just simply what I believe.
Okay, so
Arden, you were going to say something.
No. That's why I wore the shirt, Pretty Southern. It's like we get blamed for everything. Literally, it's the South's fault for every racism thing in the world. So I have to doubly.
You lost, Arden. That's why. I mean, if you'd won, then you'd been able to, blame the Yankees. I mean,
We interviewed my friend Bakari a couple weeks ago. Well, the Confederate flag just came down in South Carolina a few years ago. It just came down in NASCAR week. Like, people hang to that flag. I saw somebody on my Facebook page saying, take down our Confederate memorials. We'll just build new ones of new people. Like, people in the South are ingrained, but what we're taught is the war wasn't about slavery. It was about states' rights. So that's what we're taught. And we're like, I literally can go to deep Mississippi and people can say, don't go down that street. That's the black street. And I'm like, what? You said that to me just now. But that we are taught. But so here's the deal. We as Southerners fight so hard to love our people. And so to go, we're like, I'm like the person, I'm that invisible man when I was 17 years old. I know more about the civil rights movement and what I can do to educate my people and to go, that's what Sharifa and I were texting yesterday. I was like, I'm trying to educate my white women as fast as black women are being called on to speak out about everything. And my black girlfriends are calling me and going, girl, I cannot talk anymore. Pick the 2 things I need to say and then write it for me and then let's move on, because we've all been doing this work, right? Like, we're behind the scenes doing this work. And for us, the police is more of a power trip and it's a mindset. And I can't pull over for a police officer because what's he going to do to me? Is he going to use his magnetism against us? And I think it's more like what Jay was saying is we've got to look at the mindset of our different cultures around the country. It is not a one change. It's back to your states and all those sorts of things. But in Charlotte is very different than literally 30 minutes down the road in South Carolina. And we have to look at what does our force need in every place. And a lot of it is just mindset. You put a lot of people who are power trips. I have a friend whose father was killed in the line of duty by a black man. And she's like, I was basically raised by the police. Everything was my fun. Everything was raised by the police. I went to college because of it. I don't want to disband a group that 95% of the people are great, but you put a couple people in power and give them a gun and suddenly the game changes. And to me, that's a mindset thing. What are we doing for mental health? What are we doing? It's the same thing somebody told me yesterday. They were like, we haven't had any school shootings. I'm like, we're not, because white boys are at home right now with their parents and not getting beat up. Like, there's something going on with the male culture in general that we got to do something, man. Like, there's something else brewing that we've got to lean into collectively, but also address it in our issues, because what's going on in Long Beach is probably not what's going on in Charlotte. So.
That's right. Jay, you over there moving and pacing, and I need to talk to you.
Yeah, he looked like he was checking out. So
you saw that too, Christian?
No, I was loving it.
Yep.
I think, Arden, she made a point that I love, and that is that, when the state started reopening again, not 2 days later, we had our first mass shooting in months. I think it says something, and Arden makes a great point. The only caveat I would give is, yes, as someone who works in this field, there is something wrong with the mental health of young men. But I'm going to go a step farther and say it is 10 times worse in the white community. There is something wrong with young white men, and they are killing us and everyone. And that is not indiscriminate. They are taking out everybody. And it is not a surprise that most, and I mean that, extremely mean that, most mass shooters are young white men, and there is an epidemic there.
Okay, so Jay, if you have a mass shooting or a school shooting, who are you going to send then if you disband or the police? That's my question.
So here's what's so unfortunate is the cops don't have a very good record on that either. Look at Parkland. There were cops there, and they didn't do anything. In fact, one of them ran, and he got in a lot of trouble because he took off running. And look, I don't blame him.
A school police officer, though. I thought that was a school police officer.
Look, I don't blame anyone
that
who
was
runs
a
in that
sheriff
situation.
deputy.
And it's just the final point on this, because I kind of want to hear about Susan Briggs's dogs. But and I'm looking at a budget right now. I'm looking at a budget of a city. This is real. This is for next year. And the police budget is 1.5 times the budget for everything else combined. Everything, every human service, every fixing a pothole, everything is 1.5 times that is for police. When you add in fire and other safety, it's 2.5 to 3 times more than everything else. If you look at that and go, maybe we can't, change some of that money around, like, I just don't know how to answer that, because that's a lot of money.
I've never done a budget analysis of our city, but that doesn't surprise me, because that's what people want. One, two is, and I think this is a very simple, it's not an easy, but it's a very simple fix for the bad police officers and the problems, gives people some tools to be able to fix it, is get rid of public unions. There's no reason why public employees should be able to unionize. It basically protects all of these bad employees. You can't fire them. And, if you could get rid of him, George Floyd would probably be alive, because that guy was it was a history. This wasn't his first rodeo.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, if I had 3 write-ups anywhere, I would have been automatically fired. Like, and I've had people
100%.
things to get rid of me, and I have signed on there, this is not true, but you're still let go. But here's one, Jay, jumping on the budget thing, one thing that I used to work in literacy all the time, and a lot of projections for jails would be based on the reading, at a 3rd grade, when they were in 3rd grade, what their reading level was. And if it was at a certain level, they would fund, 4th grade, if they would fund jails. And I just looked at that and I was like, why are we pouring so much money into a future problem instead of fixing a current, whatever. And I think I think that's what this year is teaching us, is we want a clear vision. Well, clearly it's not working. So it's I'm not sure if I'm accurate. And Arden, I have to tell you, I've lived in Charlotte. So matter of fact, I have friends and family there. But the things that about Charlotte, that was, I think economically there's a big disparity in the culture in Charlotte. So poverty and all that plays a big part, in a lot of crime and what's going on. But it's getting, as far as prisons, if I'm not mistaken, don't they make money tax? There's some tax benefit.
There's so much money in prisons. They make so much money in prisons.
And that's what I'm saying. People don't think about that, but how many, good God, hundreds of thousands of people locked up in prison, and someone's capitalizing off of that. There's a monetary, Jay, if you know what I'm talking about, I'm not sure that, how that works, but
I'll give you the term. It is what they call the school to prison pipeline is number one. But also, if you watch 13th, it'll show how people always talk about the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment is what abolished slavery. But there was a caveat in it. It says you are free unless you're a prisoner. So then what they did is they just turned everybody into prisoners. So you was looking at me, okay, now you're a prisoner, you're a criminal, so unless you're a criminal. And so they made everybody into criminals. So that's one of the things that they talk about in 13. 1 in 17 white men is in prison. 1 in 3 black men is in prison. So that's again why I feel strongly that we need to rehaul the entire system.
Definitely has to be a reform.
It's just that aspect of because I'm like, okay, well, who gonna come save me? Like, that's what I want to know. And maybe they don't save everybody, but I know my police officers, they walk around here. I talk to them, I wave to them. And I tell people too, where I am in Long Beach, I moved to Long Beach in 2003. I moved to my house in a different district in Long Beach in 2017. And I have never, ever, ever, ever seen so much drama in the LBC as I have since I moved over. Go get it, Arden. Since I moved over.
I'm trying to listen.
I know. But since I moved to this house, okay, I've had my neighbor to the left of me stabbed her boyfriend. Then she was gone. The neighbor behind me was a vet. Some woman he was dealing with said that he was trying to kill her. And so at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was here and I woke up to someone banging on my door, and I look outside and they were like, you got to get out the house. me and my friend who was here, my friend who is a police officer was here, and we had to leave, and we couldn't get back into our house till about 8 o'clock that morning because they had all the streets, everything blocked off, and everybody had to leave. But I asked my friend, I said, I know I'm a little naive, but isn't that SWAT? And he was like, yeah, that's SWAT. So they had brought the SWAT team out because a lady said the guy who she was living with had a gun and he wanted to kill her. So the SWAT team showed up, not the police. So I can tell you story after story after story after story, but if it was the SWAT team, the LVPD or whoever, I felt safer knowing that they were there. That was just me as a citizen. And most of the time I pay my taxes. No, I'm just kidding, I pay my taxes. But I felt safer. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, I know it's a problem, Jay. Don't walk off this show not being my friend no more, because I love you. You are wonderful.
But you know what, Sharifa, you made a good point, and Jay, Jay talked about the, bring your folding table. I think at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own safety, and I'm responsible for my own safety, and that's why I mean, yeah, there would be times if I've never called the police, but I could envision a time that I would. But I also carry a sidearm because and I'm trained in it. So, I'm responsible for me and my family, not someone else. That's my attitude. Not that I wouldn't rely on the police, but I'm not. I grew up in the 80s and 90s listening to Public Enemy and 911 as a joke. I mean, I don't want to rely on them.
I may not want to rely on them, but I don't want to disband them. So let's sit down at the table, have a conversation, let's talk, let's figure this out. Maybe there is a different way. Maybe there's an in-between. And so we've been talking about all of this. Susan's going to be mad at me because I didn't give her a chance to talk about her dogs, but I already knew where this conversation was going to go when I saw Arden and I saw Jay. So I'm sorry.
Maybe I want to tell you about 13 Reasons Why and why I think it's I just started watching it and I think it's awful. And I just think it's the worst show ever. Did y'all watch 13 Reasons Why on Netflix?
No, I have not heard that.
No.
Oh, it's really old. It's about the girl that commits suicide, and there's her 13 reasons why, and she blames all these people, and then it caused a whole backlash. It started teaching kids how to commit. I don't know, but I'm like, why do we let these shows get on the air? And so this is why I should be watching like All American or something.
But I'm glad, Jay, that you're working with mental illness and addiction.
Yeah.
Is huge in this country, and have you thought about those things being related to nutrition, and because if you're eating junk food, your mind is going to be, your thoughts are going to be junk. It's the energetics of what we put in our bodies, so people don't think about food and energetics. It's the same thing. So
I know you asked that question to Jay, and and I'm just going to allow Jay to answer momentarily, but because we're running out of time. That was one of the only reasons I'm going to jump in here. The other reason is I'm me, and that's what I do. But I think that again is a part of the systematic problem. When you have all of the fathers in prison, so mom now has to work 3 jobs. So who's there to tell little Bobby that he shouldn't have Cheetos for dinner? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I believe one of the things that we have to do as people and as Americans is we have to fix the family unit, bring us all back as family. And that's one of the things that we've seen over the last few months. We have more families sitting down having dinner together. We're having more people who are having conversations with their family. I saw a meme that I thought was funny, early on, where a guy was like, I met this very nice lady. She's very cool. She's my wife. I'm like, yeah, like, because it's like we don't talk anymore. And I think that a lot of these things start with having a conversation. So Jay, I went in, so answer that.
Actually, I think this is a much longer conversation in the interest of time. I said this 10 minutes ago. I want to hear about Susan Briggs's dog. So, I think that's a great conversation for another episode. Why don't we save that when I come back for the 4th time?
Okay.
Okay, so here's a book I'm reading right now. It's actually one of my clients, but it's called Do Your Children Believe? And it's like a whole game plan to sit down, because he's talking about the same thing of like how to create a game plan for your family to be able to have these conversations and like encourage debate and encourage, but having a game plan to do it. And I was like, it's so interesting because you keep saying the same thing, like men are falling down on the job because they don't have a plan to do it. And like, that is a really interesting way of looking at it. Like, just, we need to be better. I think innately around me, but innately, I think we're all trying the best we can. We just need better tools, and like finding the right tools is really helpful. And sorry, Bruce keeps mooning everyone. He's being very inappropriate today.
And I'm just happy that we're on the path now to try to fix these things and, you know, have dialogue. And, you know, and I think it's great. You know, I love when I see protesters, every nationality under the sun, you know, and people are awake. It's like people woke up, you know, and I'm just hope that we continue the process and make some changes, you know, and so
I
it's a
agree.
good thing.
Susan, tell us about your dogs. We're going to hear about these dogs today.
Well, actually, I have 2 dogs right now, but no, I mean, our passion is that dogs and pets are part of our families too, and that in providing them great care that people can depend on, and helping those businesses, you know, succeed through this. And I'd love, and I'm going to follow up and have a conversation with Jay, because I know one of the things when I had my pet business I really struggled with is I do think a lot of people with mental illness and addiction are drawn to working in our industries. And as a business owner, I didn't know how to help them. There's a line between enabling and helping. And we need more knowledge on how to help these people succeed in life. And it's a really hard thing. You're not prepared as a business owner when you have staff with these issues. And where do you go in your community to get that support? So I'd love to have that conversation. There's a lot of business owners that struggle with that. And then the cycle just, they can't get help. So you want to help them stay in a role in a position, but you have to run your business and care for the pets. So, you know, there's a lot we can do to help each other and learn through all these things and do better. I mean,
let me give an awesome shout out in response to that, because Susan, it's so sad that you're right. You are not trained to handle this, and it's not your fault that you're not trained to handle this. There is an amazing course. I know John Hopkins offers it online. It's other places as well. I took it through John Hopkins, called Mental Health First Aid. It's basically, you know, knowing what to do in those situations, and so you don't have to, you know, do something like call the police or whatever the case is. And if you take this sort of a course, it's basically like learning CPR for someone's mental health. Obviously, that's not a fix-all, but it is a wonderful first step that I advise, whether you work in this industry or not, being trained in what to do to help a conflict when it comes to someone's mental health is something that can be incredibly helpful for all of us. So definitely would recommend checking that out.
thank you. Didn't even know that resource was out there and can spread that word. That's awesome.
There you go.
It makes sense that, yeah, thank you.
See, Jay knew that. That's why he kept trying to go back to you and the dogs. He had a plug for you. He was going to help you. That was the plan. Yes. Jay, do me a favor and back up, please. I want to see your shirt. Like, kind of open the jacket and say,
Is that New York? Is that
Yeah, we can't see it. Oh,
see, I'm so glad I asked. So the Statue of Liberty is taking a knee.
Shout out to an amazing artist. He is a cartoonist named Kevin Necessary in Cincinnati, Ohio. He's donating all proceeds from this shirt this has been in the USA Today. It's been all over, but he's the original artist. And if you buy a shirt with it on it, it's all going to I think it's the Bail Project. Don't quote me on that, but he's awesome. I actually just tweeted this. So if anyone wants to find him, just go to my Twitter, which is jbshifman.com, and he's right there. He's a really amazing artist who's doing some pretty incredible work, and this is one of it.
So the Statue of Liberty is taking a knee, correct?
That's right.
Oh, wow. That is beautiful. I'm going to go. I follow you on Twitter. I'm going to go check out your page and check out that link and definitely check out the t-shirt. Now, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance. I know today's show was not a typical show. Christian, Susan, even though we're all laughing and joking, usually my shows don't go this way. They usually, we talk about each person a little bit more individually. We talk about their business because the point of the show is to allow you to promote your brand. But sometimes life happens and we're like, you know what, we have to have this conversation and we have to discuss this now. So with that said, I enjoy both of you on the show. So please come back. Christian, love for you to come back. Susan, love for you to come back. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak directly to the audience. And because we stole all your time, Susan, we're going to start with you.
Well, it was good to be here. I enjoyed meeting everyone and having the conversation. And what I would say is support your small local business, including your pet care businesses. They, for them to be there long term, they need to see your pets, whether you can give them a couple of nights boarding, take them to daycare, get them groomed. Just support your local pet businesses so that they're there long term.
Thank
They
you.
need you right now.
Yes, they do. And the pets need us right now.
Yeah.
And
Pets need a break from their families that are driving them crazy. Take them back to their daycare that understands them.
Yes. If I was a pet person, I would just go get a pet. But I'm not. My kids are alive because they can talk. They're like, Mom, when is dinner? I'll be like, oh, okay. Got to feed these kids. Christian, what do you have for us? Christian?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear my name. Usually that's not a problem. I two things. One, we have ongoing webinars, and the events are on our webpage. We have a couple coming up next week, specifically around the PPP loan and the Flexibility Act that was passed, as well as a tax question and answer session coming up on the July 15th new deadline, coregroup.us.com/events. And the second thing is, I think that, and this would be the audience as well as the panelists, is keep talking. I think that's the most important thing, is to not get into shouting and name calling, but just keep talking.
Yes. And I want to keep talking with you, Christian, because I didn't know you were that opinionated, but I asked for opinionated guests and you definitely deliver.
I know a little bit, but I have an opinion about most everything.
But that's good. So come back, because one of the things that you referred to was, to me, more a discussion on the stand your ground law. And I definitely want to have that conversation. Because that's what you kind of.
I'm not a Second Amendment expert, but again, I have an opinion.
That's all we want is your opinion. So come back. We'll discuss that another day. If we're protecting ourselves and standing behind or believing in stand your ground laws, I definitely, anybody want to have the conversation. Helena, what do you have for us?
I'm just happy that we had the conversation, actually, and it needs to continue. And I've been an advocate for change for people for a long time. I came along in the 70s, in the 80s, and I was a part of the march with Stevie Wonder to make Martin Luther King a holiday. I was part of that march. So, so for me, to see this happening, I'm ecstatic. I'm really happy that this movement is going on. So, and also, I wanted to say to Arden, I love Charlotte. So I didn't say much, but a brief statement about Charlotte, but I love there, and I may retire there. But, also, and one of the other thing is that with Charlotte, a lot of my friends there saying all the health food stores are closing, except for Whole Food. And I was really concerned about that. So I don't know if that's, what's going on that end. But, I hope that everyone try to eat well and stay healthy and keep their immune systems up during this time. Look for herbs, that's good for stress, like ashwagandha and holy basil and those kinds of herbs that are great for stress, and just, trying to, we can't do the work if we don't keep the body healthy. So, there's things nutritionally that can help you stay mentally aware. Like calamus is one of a great mental herb that you can use, to keep you mentally on alert, and just do the things that, keep you healthy and keep you well, and embrace family and love and everything that's good. and I think we'll get through this.
And no Cheetos for dinner.
No Cheetos for dinner. Very inflammatory. Might cause you to have anger.
A lot of different things. Yes.
Yes.
Arden, what do you have for us?
Well, what y'all want to know? I'm Arden. Like I said, I'm a publicist. I love telling story, and I think story is ultimately what leads people to do business with you. I think we're finding more and more. William Faulkner said one time, the South hates the race but loves the man. The North loves the man but loves the race but hates the man. And I think where the South, where my Southernness just comes out, is I truly believe all of us have a story, and that there's a reason you've lived the life that you've lived. And I think I want you to speak it out. I want you to feel comfortable speaking your truth. I know I'm just speaking to my white counterparts right now, especially white women. A lot of them have been afraid to speak up because they've been attacked and for saying the wrong thing, or like not getting an acronym right or something like that. But I love that we're allowed to speak our truth. And people are like, you always do it so well. And I'm like, I've been studying it since I was like 17 years old. So I don't, there's nothing special about me. It's just I'm articulate, but be comfortable speaking your truth. The First Amendment gives you the right. Don't yell fire in a crowded place. But until you know your truth, and work with somebody like me, I'll help you figure out your truth and move it forward. You can go find me at marketingdefinita.com, but mostly let people be people and trust them. Trust that we're trying to do the best we can. And the more you talk, the more you learn. I think the better community we'll all build. And I'm convinced that this crap ends with us. Like, we're done. Like, I don't need to see another Emmett Till picture. I don't need to see another George Floyd. Like, this has got to stop. And we have to take a stand.
I agree, but I think you're special because we met before all of this happened, and you were just your authentic self. You never had a problem saying what you feel, saying what you thought, saying what you think. And I think that's what we all need, is just to kind of speak our truth. And one of the things, like I said, I've been invited to speak, and I have some more panels lined up. And I've seen more people are like, Sharifa, we want to talk to you. We want to know your opinion. You know, these are white people. They're like, come sit on the panel because we want to know what your experience is. We want to know what you're going through. And so I took the opportunity to answer some of the questions that they had, because I believe change starts with conversation. That's just me. So Jay, you still love me? You're not going to delete my interview, are you?
No, I'm as excited as ever to put it out tomorrow.
Yes. What do you have for us, Jay?
Well, as Sharifa just said, I do drop a podcast every Friday called the Choose Your Struggle podcast. And tomorrow's episode on the 12th of June will be our one and only Sharifa. So please check it out, like it on all your platforms, share it. That's how I find listenership. And I really appreciate everyone listening. And if you want to know more about me or reach out, we can chat at my website, www.jshifman.com.
Yeah. See, what I do is all the opinionated people, I hold on to them. I email them, I inbox them, like, come back, please come back, because I just love to have conversation. I love to talk. Y'all can't tell? Y'all didn't know? I want to thank you all for being my guest today on the Roundtable Talk Show. I appreciate you all. I appreciate your honesty, your openness, your willingness to have a conversation. I want to thank everyone who is watching this show. We definitely appreciate your support, but we're going to ask you for a little bit more support. Please go ahead and share this show. Inbox your friends the show. Let them know that we are here and we are having conversations. But also our guests are business owners. They're here to provide you with services, with resources, with products. They have their podcasts. They can assist you. So please support them. The information for each guest, their websites, is in the show's link, is in the show's description. When you go to the websites, please make sure you follow our guests. And when you follow them, when you send them the first tweet, make sure you let them know Sharifa Hardy says hi. And if you are interested in being a guest, please visit the website at asksharifa.com. Until tomorrow, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.